Welcome to Make and Decorate, a podcast for makers who love to sew, quilt, knit, and decorate. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Stephanie, your host, and this month is going to be an audio-only episode. It will still be available on my YouTube channel at Make and Decorate, as well as any of the podcast platforms that you listen to. So on this episode, it will be chit chat. I will be talking about a few sewing topics. I've got some hemming tips to give you and a little bit more on the foundation paper piecing. I may be repeating myself with that, but I do have a couple of tips on that and organizing a little bit. Basically, it's just a chit chat about all of these things. And I do have a little bit of FIFA talk because it's going on right now. And it is global. So wherever you happen to be listening at in the world, probably one of your teams or favorite teams have played in the FIFA World Cup in the past month. So we're kind of coming down to the end of it, and I will just spend a couple minutes towards the end talking about that. So let's just get started here. A few weeks ago, my husband brought up like 5 pairs of pants and dumped them in front of me and said, can you just zip these? They just need to be hemmed because the bottoms of his hems on the pants tend to get frayed over time. And so they can be hemmed because the reason why they're frayed is because they're a little too long. Store-bought or ready-made. So, yes, I've kind of have this a little bit down pat here. It depends. Sometimes I use a serger, and this time I just used a regular sewing machine to do it. So, I do have a couple of tips. I know that most everyone that sews, and quilts does not like to do hemming for people. And there's a reason why, because it is tedious work and it always takes longer than anyone thinks, including yourself. And so, yeah, that's why. However, the more you do it, the quicker it does become. And if you're like me, you only do it for like certain people that are hem worthy. So pretty much I only hem for my husband, and of course myself if needed. The tips that I have for you on this are if the pants that my husband have, this is not dress pants, but it could apply to dress pants as well. If you're going to use the blind hem stitch method, which is what I'm going to talk about now. If the pants are cuffed, then it's sort of easier to determine the fold up line for the hem and to hem them because it's like already there for you. There's already a fold pressed in there. And it also determines the cut point. So a couple of the pairs were cuffed pants. So basically the first step is to rip out the pant. And probably the step before that is to measure for what needs to be hemmed. But in this case, I already knew it was just basically a simple 1 inch on every single pair. But you could get pretty complicated and, measure the inseam and down to like the shoe and the part where, they want the pant to fall. I mean, all of that stuff does kind of get intricate, but it doesn't have to be. And I mean, fortunately, my husband's not that picky. So He'll take what he can get, and he's very appreciative when it's done. So that takes a lot of headache out of it. So in this case, I knew 1 inch, and two of the pants I had already hemmed. Those were a little bit more tricky, and I just was like, well, this is as far as this is going to go, and that's how it's going to go. So he hasn't told me that the hems do not work yet. And of course, he didn't want to try them on after I had just hemmed them. So that's how that goes. But anyway, what I do is when I rip out the hem, and then if it's a cuffed pant, then that like unfolds because it's like double folded hemmed. And the very first fold is usually where I cut the fabric off. Sorry, I'm doing this by memory. So I just know that I do cut on a fold line, and then I fold it up the inch, press it. There we go. And press it. So the pressing is what puts the bottom of the hem in place. And I apologize, this is getting convoluted and I don't have it on video, but if you could just bear with me. Okay, so you rip out the existing stitching, you find where you're going to cut off the excess fabric, and then you press up your fold to what the hem and the finished hem is going to be on the pants. When I cut, I use pinking shears. And here's a tip. I did a shortcut this time, and I did not overlock the cut line, and I just used pinking shears. That actually wasn't enough. So the pants that I hemmed were a cotton twill. And even though they were cut with pinking shears, they still ended up raveling a bit. Going forward, I know that I will need to overlock the edge of the hem. And in that case, I won't even need to cut with pinking shears. I can just cut with straight shears, overlock the bottom, then fold it up and press it, and then it'll be ready for the hemming stitch. So here we are at the point to hem. The blind hem stitch foot usually comes with most sewing machines. It's part of like the 3 to 5 feet that you get with the machine, and it's the one foot that kind of has that little blade part coming down on it. That's the foot that you would use. So the confusing part of the blind hem stitch is the way that you have to fold the fabric. It does get a little confusing at first, but then once you get into it, the problem is we don't do it often enough. So, I mean, it's not like you're hemming pants every day. So I need to reacquaint as to which way does this fold. So there's always a YouTube video out there, and the one that I recommend is J Stern, Stern, Jennifer Stern. She's got a great YouTube channel, and I just popped in over there and took a quick look at how I was supposed to fold it, and then I was off. So you fold the fabric a certain way, and I won't get into it because it's on audio. It's like you're not even gonna, it's not gonna make sense, but it's folded in a different way. And then once you have that folded, then basically the folded part gets butted up against this blade on the foot. And then you start sewing, and then there's the flat part of the fabric that extends the foot, and it starts stitching, and it'll do like about 3 or 4 straight stitches, and then it zigs over the foot and does a stitch in the fold, and then zigs back and does another set of straight stitches, and then zigs. So the one zig stitch is the stitch that tacks the hem up, and it goes pretty quickly once you've got the folding down. And the other thing that on my machine I noticed is that I needed to move the needle over 1 needle length to the left because it wasn't grabbing or biting the fabric, and it wasn't like hemming anything. Those are the 2 tips. Pinking shears are not enough, so you should overlock. Regular sewing machines do generally have an overlock similar stitch that you could use, or you could just use a zigzag stitch instead of an overlock, and figure out how to fold the bottom for a blind hem. And you can do it a different way, but today I'm talking about blind stitch hemming. I do still secure the stitch at the beginning and at the end, even though we're going into a circle. I just like that extra bit of a stitch to make sure that nothing unravels. And then you flip it over and press it and it's done. That's it. So hopefully that isn't clear as mud, but so yeah, it's not my favorite thing to do, but once I get into, reviewing it and doing it, it's not difficult. And the best way to do it is in batches. So I'm glad that he saves up until he has 5 pairs, and then I just do them all at once. All right. And then the other thing that I have this is my whole life right now, as far as after work hours, and after dinner, is to work on this fairy tale forest quilt. And sorry, my voice is going out here, but a couple of tips that I have for this, because now I am halfway through. So I'm on the 6th box out of 12. And there's 2 big blocks per box, and there's a bunch of little blocks. What I've noticed and what I've made mental notes of are that what I definitely need to make this project A, efficient, and B, pleasant, a pleasant experience for me to work on, are the following. First of all is to make templates. Because this one is all triangles, it's a very good pattern to just make templates because it's the same types of shapes. They're all different size. I have maybe 8 different templates because of the different size of the triangles. But it is so worth it to make templates. At first I was using just paper templates, but that was just not holding up. So then I transferred those to thicker cardboard pieces, and those are working great. I did actually buy acrylic template. It might be acrylic, but you're supposed to be able to cut it with an X-Acto knife. And it has a little bit of a thickness, maybe like a 1/16 of an inch, but it's rigid and hard. And my X-Acto knife was not really penetrating that very well at all. I just was forget this. I will have to use that template acrylic for something else, because I had already opened the package and started on one of the pages. They were 8.5 by 11 size. And so that was a bust. That didn't work. And so I went right back to my DIY cardboard templates that work like a dream. So that is the first thing that has made this project so much more enjoyable and less stressful to work on. And within these templates, I include the seam allowance and an extra 1/4 of an inch. So basically I add a 1/2 an inch around all sides for the templates. And that includes plenty of extra so that so I do have enough and I don't have too much. Those work well. They also allow me to fussy cut. Some of these fabrics are directional, and I've realized by experience that I should cut these triangles in the direction of the fabric. So in other words, sometimes you can flip the triangle and use less fabric, but in this case, your patterns will be upside down on the quilt, which does not bother everyone. But since it's a commission, I want to do it as, perfect and beautiful as possible. So the templates help with that, and I can still get all my pieces out of those little fabrics that are sent in the boxes. Then the next thing is a glue stick, which I know I have mentioned before, but the glue stick is essential for me because I not only glue the first piece down, because the first piece on the block is always face up. And then you put the second piece face down. I use it throughout. I use it when I flip the pieces over and I glue them. I just lightly put the glue pen on the shape and then smooth it. If I don't, the fabric and the shape can bubble up a little bit if it's not completely smoothed down. And even if you smooth it down and press it, it can still move. It keeps it from shifting until you're done stitching the entire block. So that has been invaluable. The third thing that has been invaluable is my light mat or board that has also a cutting mat to go with it. That is a game changer for foundation paper piecing for me, and I love it. And I use it when I am flipping the pieces over or when I'm placing the pieces, actually. I can see the paper underneath with the lines, and I know where to place things, and it's just been great. And then here's another thing that I do just because I will have to do so much less ripping out and restitching. I use an air-soluble pen and I just measure my 1/4 inch up, and that I need the light coming through the bottom to see the line on the pattern paper piece. And I just quickly just draw my 1/4 inch, and that's where I line up the template piece. And then I can flip it, stitch on the line, and I've got my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then when I flip it, there's plenty of fabric. It's in the right orientation and direction, and just makes my life so much easier as I am stitching through. And it might seem very too much and not necessary. And sure, if you're just doing improv and, going with the flow, you don't need to do that. But in this case, it's pretty precise pattern, and it goes fast. So when you have your system down, and this is the system that I use, it ends up being faster than if you're just going willy-nilly. So for me, that works best. And I think that if you're working on a pattern that has like similar shapes to these, it will work for you as well. That's it. I've got the system down. I've got how I like to do this. I've gone through different, trying this and trying that. But basically for me, it comes down to adding the seam allowances plus a 1/4 inch, making templates, and I can cut the pieces directionally or fussy cut them with the templates using a glue stick and using a light mat board with the cutting mat. The cutting mats that come with these light boards, sometimes they're an extra, purchase, but so worth it. They are not opaque. They're light filtering, I guess is what you could call it, cutting mat. So that's what makes it so great. The light still comes through and you can cut your seam allowances off with the add a 1/4. Oh, that's another thing, the add a 1/4. I just assume that that's part of the process. Add a 1/4 rulers, of course, too, are indispensable with foundation paper piecing. But the cutting mat that goes on top of the light board, you can just do it right there. So I've got it right next to my machine on the left side, and everything is just there, efficient, and you just go through this so much easier. I've been doing a little bit of organizing in my office and sewing room. It just has become a ginormous wreck. It's just needed to be organized for so long, and I'm finally starting it. It's come to the point where I look at it and it's just too overwhelming, and then I just procrastinate. So I finally started it. Once I get started, it's just yes. And then it feels so good. I do smaller chunks of organizing. I used to be well, if I start this, I'm going to have to finish it. And then that could take like a day or two or, consecutive. And I don't have those types of blocks of time anymore. I think I spent maybe an hour and that was it. And even that's kind of a long time. Like, some people just will do 15 minutes, but the hour seemed to be good and I had a good stopping point. But what I am going through are like patterns that I don't use anymore or I'm not going to make anymore, tossing printouts of PDF patterns that I've made that I'm not going to make anymore, those types of things, going through books and eventually reorganizing the fabrics. And I already have my sewing table and my work table, my cutting table organized a bit, but it needs a little bit more because I do like to have the tools that I'm going to need to reach for right there within hands reach, like marking pens and seam rippers, tweezers, and snips right there around the machines. The one thing that I haven't done, and it really needs to be done, is organizing my scissors and shears. I just ordered, I haven't put them together yet because there is assembly required, but I ordered a scissors stand. So this is from Madame Sew, and it's a bamboo wood stand that holds 5 pairs of scissors and or shears. And I like that it's like right on the table. So on the cutting table, I could just have it on the far end and be able to reach for the shears or scissors that I need. I do have a lot. I collect scissors. I collect rotary cutters. So that too, I'm going to have to go through and purge, but this is a good start. But once I use that, I'll get back to you on whether I like it or not. But I did research and look at like, some people love those wall mounted sort of pegboard type systems where you can, put hooks in there and your scissors will hang from the hooks and you could organize other things on those. But I have some pegboards installed in the closet off of the sewing room, but those are something just personally that I don't like. I don't like it, and then it takes up wall space, and I'd rather use that wall space for other things. So this is what I have come up with, and we'll see how it works. I may be changing my mind, but oh, there's my dog Badger coming to see what's going on. So that's where I'm at with organizing the sewing room. There's so much more that needs to be done, but it's just one step at a time. Otherwise, it will never get done because I will just like close my eyes like horse blinders. So getting that done little by little. And what else? We have outdoor furniture, an outdoor sofa and a glider chair, an ottoman, and they all have the upholstery cushions, seat cushions and the backs, and then the ottoman has a cushion in it. And I made all of the covers for this probably like 15 years ago. It's really time to update those. They lasted really well. I used pretty good fabric. I think it might have been Sunbrella at the time, or it was a nice outdoor fabric. Now it's just too pricey to get that much yardage that I would need to make all of these seat and back cushions. I did find a fabric that I absolutely love. I've been looking actually for the last 2 seasons for outdoor fabric that was at least, because I don't want the cheapest fabric either. You want quality, but you also need it to be within within reach as far as budget goes. And I finally found one. I want to make them. I don't know. My husband's like, you don't need another project. And he's right. I don't. But I don't know if I will find a fabric again anytime soon that I really, really like. So this fabric that I found is a Tommy Bahama, and I did order it from Michael's online, and it's a Tommy Bahama outdoor fabric. I found it right when there was, I think it was like around Memorial Day. So there was a huge sale, and it was just like an unbeatable price. I think the quality was good enough. I calculated what I would need and ordered it. It's so pretty. It's a blue and like a cream, or blue and white, not stark white. So I would say it's a blue and cream pattern, and it's the floating turtles along with some other leafy like things, and it's just very pretty. And then I ordered a coordinating blue for the contrast welting. I did contrast welt on the existing cushions, and it looks really nice. And that is actually a tip on how you can up the look of your me-made things, and for it to look really like custom and designer, is to add things like decorative trims. And making welting is like a piece of cake, especially if you're a quilter. I mean, it's basically like binding, but it's got like a little cord inside of it. So I've got that, and I will be making them because they really need to be done. It may or may not be ready for this season, but definitely for the next season. So I have time. It will be made. In fact, I think I still have the templates that I made for those. I'm okay with ordering fabric online. By this point of, our technology, the quality of the photography for online shopping has gotten so good. There are some sites, though, that still do not put up high resolution photographs, and so I won't even bother with that. But if I see that the photography is good, I can see the repeat and everything, then I do not have a problem with ordering. I know it's a risk because I needed like 12 yards, and that's a lot to gamble with, but when it got here, it was exactly as expected. So that is a project waiting to happen. Let's move on to gardening. So right now is like the best part of the season, I think, especially for flowers. The flowers have grown into this fullness and abundance, and the colors and the blooms are just so beautiful. I love it so much. The dahlias that I planted from tubers that I ordered in the winter, oh, they have been great. So I ordered this dinner plate dahlia, which is a very tall and huge plant. And I planted it into a large container on our deck, and it is now almost ready to bloom. And a dinner plate dahlia is supposed to have a bloom like the size of a dinner plate. This is why it's called that, I think, because the blooms can be anywhere from 10 to 14 inches in diameter. So I am so excited, and my husband and I are both like watching and waiting for this like fantastic large dahlia bloom to happen. We also have zucchinis. If you're in the UK, they're called courgettes. They're ready almost any day now. I just checked on them over the weekend, and there's several. One of them I could probably pick now. And then there's 3 others that need a few more days. And then the yellow squash is it must take a little bit longer because those are just now starting to like grow. But the zucchinis are like, man, they are good. And I planted both of those, the zucchini and the yellow squash plants, from seed, tossing them into the raised bed in the spring. I didn't start them in the winter, and I am so excited and happy that they grew like this. I don't need to start zucchini plants anymore in the winter, and I probably I'm already taking a break from doing that anyway, so just taking mental notes of what works and what doesn't as far as sowing these seeds as you plant them in the season. And then the Japanese eggplant. So I have two types. I've got the ones that are the long, skinny Japanese eggplant. And then I have this one that is the little round shaped ones. I call them little orbs. They're so cute. And those are also almost ready to pick. They're beautiful. The other ones are slow. Like I don't see any, I see blooms, but I don't see any of the eggplants growing yet for the long skinny ones. The Swiss chard is so pretty and it's almost ready to harvest, and the radishes have done great. Yeah, at this point of the season, it's just basically full of remembering to deadhead the flowers so that they keep growing bountifully, weeding and watering. So fertilizing my husband does. Yeah, and it's just been so great. I do love the return on investment, I guess you could call it, from early spring and getting these like small little plants that just grow into these gorgeous, gorgeous things. So, and this is the time of year that you can really, really enjoy it. We did make a new mini pond to replace the old one because the one that was made last year was made from a very inexpensive plastic barrel, like half barrel planter. And it just didn't last. There was a hole in it. This spring, we decided to get an actual half barrel wood planter. We lined it. The pond liner is like a thick vinyl and it needs to be pleated in order to be shaped around. So I did that part and it's beautiful. The wood is just so much more beautiful anyway than the plastic, and it's more, like everything. It's just gorgeous. And then we also added a bamboo fountain this time. So we took away the, old, kind of used what we had as far as the copper pipe that my husband made into a fountain. It worked last season, but this year we both decided we liked the bamboo one, and it just makes a much more beautiful fountain sound into the water, and it's gorgeous. And the plants came back that overwintered, the lily pads, so that was fun. And it's just, this water feature is just so much more enjoyable in outdoor seating areas, or like your deck or your patio. It's so nice. So I know that's the sad part though, when like fall winter comes, is that everything has to be like closed up and stored and you know goes away for the season. But that's why, like, I am envious of the people who have these all season rooms where the windows are screened, but then in the winter, they can put the glass back up or whatever and still have like a sunroom sort of a thing with the seating area, and you could probably have a water feature in there year round. So that is like a dream, an ideal thing for me that I totally would love. And in fact, we are going traveling in the fall, and there's an Airbnb that I've reserved, and it has just that. It has like this ginormous sunroom that also has a fireplace. So in the autumn, it's going to be perfect. And we're bringing the dogs with us, and it's dog friendly. So I'm very much looking forward to having that for a week. The next thing I want to talk about is what's coming up in a few episodes. I am working on 2 episodes. One of them is a review on heat erasable pens, marking pens for fabric. And I actually purchased like maybe 3 different brands that probably are the most popular ones that people do use. And I'm going to test them out and we will see what I come up with that there. And then another episode is sewing machines. I need a new sewing machine episode. And at H&H this year, I did collect information from all of the sewing booths that were there on new introductions. There were quite a few new 2026 introductions of sewing machines. And actually, just this month in July, Bernina released several new sewing machine models, which one of them is a Liberty limited edition on 2 sewing machines. If you're familiar with Bernina, they like to release these limited edition sewing machines. And I talked about the K-Facette one that I got in January that I was like hunting for because it's been discontinued because these limited editions come out and then when it sells, it's gone. So same thing with these. At first I was just like, are you kidding me? I just got this K-Facette one, but then I was like, you know what? I'm actually okay because yeah, the Liberty machines are very cute. They're very gorgeous and would totally love to have one, but I'm very happy with the Cafe machine that I have. I mean, I've been using it this whole time for the commission quilt. It's great. I love it. I love the color. Whenever I look at it, it makes me smile. So I do still love that machine a lot. So I do not regret getting it. And, when I first saw the Liberty, I was like, oh man, but then I'm like, you know what? I sew with enough Liberty fabrics that I see the Liberty flower pattern all the time. So it doesn't need to be on my machine per se, right? That's my rationalization. But yeah, I will be working on a sewing machine episode. All right, just a couple more things and then we're done with this episode. So, okay, FIFA World Cup. I don't know if you're a sports fan, a soccer fan, or anywhere else outside of the United States, it's football. But the FIFA World Cup is being hosted here in the North American continent. So Mexico, the United States, and Canada are the hosts. And since mid-June, 47 teams, soccer teams around the world have come to play across the continent in this FIFA World Cup that happens every 4 years. And it's so much fun. But I have to say that, I mean, having it hosted here has been even more exciting and fun to see the reactions of all the players and all the fans that have traveled here from all the countries. It's just like phenomenal. I didn't know that these fans travel like this to see their teams play. But I mean, like the Netherlands shipped this double-decker orange bus that is like a fan bus from the Netherlands to the United States on a freighter. So that is how like serious and fun the sport is around the world. So it's been great. Yes, our US team was eliminated at the 16 team mark. So now we're in the semifinals and with the last 4 teams, which are England, Spain, France, and Argentina. So I really wish that Norway would have made it. That's one of my favorite teams right now because of Erling Haaland is one of their most popular players, but he's like this one of their most powerful players, a striker, and he does amazing things to make these scores. It's just the precision and everything. So, but the other cool thing is just that they do this chant where like they are rowing a boat and there's a drum that gets them started, and it's the way they say row is roo, so they go roo roo, and they're rowing with their hands and their arms, and it's just so much fun. And again, there's so many of them in their team shirts in the stands, and they're doing this row thing. It's almost like back in the day, when you would do the wave at sporting events. So it's when things are done in numbers, it just looks that much more fun and cool. So yeah, but they were eliminated in the last round. Um, who beat them? I think England beat them. So now, yeah, I don't know. Do you know who you want to win? Within these four teams, I don't know. Like the French team has the star player Mbappe, and he is so good. And I like him. I've always liked the Argentina team. They've seemed to have these great players. I've seen like documentaries on some of them, and they just seem to be, I don't know, just like so passionate about the sport, but also family is so important. And of course, Messi. I mean, he's like the between him and Ronaldo. I mean, they're like the top players. And I think this is probably the last World Cup for both of them, for Messi and for Ronaldo. And so I don't know who I really want to win. I mean, there's not one that really I'm like, oh yes, for sure. But I would be okay with Argentina. I'd be okay with France. Um, England has Harry Kane, and I do like their goalie, Pickford. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I can narrow it down to two, I think Argentina and France are probably like my top two. So if maybe those two get into the final, then may the best team win from those two. All right, so that's enough sports talk on this sewing show. And then I will just end this with a personal update. I will be having knee surgery next week. I have no idea what to expect, but everyone says that it is great. You'll feel so much better afterwards, and, blah, blah, blah. But again, it's surgery. And of course, I get anxious about all these types of things. And there's so many rules and that you have to do to prepare, especially the night before. So I think that's like the worst part of it, is just like leading up to the point of the actual surgery. But hopefully recovery will not be too bad, but they say it's about 3 to 4 months. So yeah, that's going on here personally, which also affects the podcast. So I will do my best to produce more episodes. Hopefully you can be looking forward to that. Also, feel free to comment on the YouTube comments. And yeah, so that's it. I hope you enjoy the episode. And as always, keep making and decorating. Bye-bye.